views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when...
Hello, this is Patty Hunter, Patty's Page. Welcome to my show here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. Today's guest is Angela Forker, and you are a photographer of special things.
Yeah, my story, unlike most newborn photographers' stories, started off with us being missionaries. And none of this makes sense. And yet, for God, it all makes sense. And we were missionaries to Germany and Italy. And while we were in Italy, we have 3 daughters. And one of our daughters, she was then 19 years old, and she got pregnant. And it seemed like the most devastating thing that could ever happen to our family, to her. You know, we thought her life was ruined. Our ministry is over. But God just showed us to extend love and forgiveness to her. Our church did, our sending organization did, because the Church of God supported her. Instead of totally losing out on God, she found God in a new way. And it was very beautiful how God could use such a terrible thing to bring her to God and to bring our family closer together. During that time, we were given a leave. And so my mission during that time was to be with my daughter and help her learn to become a mother. And so here she was with this beautiful little boy, so beautiful. And we were in the States 4 months after he was born. And the one thing we had was time. And it was so strange. I just had this little desire to take his newborn pictures. And, you know, I told my daughter, I just love to, take those little naked newborn pictures. And she's like, go for it. So we were just like studying all the stuff on YouTube and everything. And I had no idea what I was doing. But we took such beautiful pictures of that little boy. And then somebody told me about Adele Enerson, and she has these scenes that she created with like laundry. And somebody said, you need to try this with your grandson too. And I'm like, oh, I could never do that. Well, I gave it a try, and we put the pictures on Facebook, and everybody went crazy. So we did another scene, and another scene. And I found out I really loved doing that. Well, then it was time to be missionaries again. So we went back. It was really hard saying goodbye to that baby and leaving my daughter in the States with that baby. But we went back to Italy, and we were there for a while, and then it was time to be on furlough again. Yeah. And when we came back in the States, something was different in our hearts, and God was speaking to me, and I didn't dare say anything to my husband because I wanted to go back to Italy. We loved our ministry there, but God was speaking to my husband as well, saying he had something else for us to do. And then to me, he was saying he had like something else. So like not just like being a pastor's wife, like really something drastically different, and that he was going to use me to do great things. And I was just like, whoa, I am so crazy. And part of it was he was telling me to learn newborn photography fast and well. And so I told my husband, I said, I think I'm crazy. But I was just like taking every course I could on newborn photography. I was just like, God has put this in my heart. I don't know why. I need to just listen to him and follow through on this. I was taking pictures of any newborn baby I could get my hands on. And then about 3.5 years ago, things started to fall into place as to why God led me to be a newborn photographer. First of all, let me say that God opened a door. We were in Fort Wayne during that time, waiting on God, saying, where is God going to lead us? Is it someplace else in the world? Is it another state? And it ended up being New Haven, Indiana. It's just right by Fort Wayne. And, but it was all a part of God's plan. And so my husband is pastoring, it was Joy Fellowship and it's now Passion Church. And we're very happy to be there. It's just been rebuilding the church. And so when we came here, it was about 6.5 years ago. And in this, we were renting this house, which God graciously allowed us to buy this year. And here in this space here, this is my dining room.
Oh,
I normally the dining room table is here, but when I have a session, I push the dining room table into the living room. And this is my studio. This is where all the magic happens. And so I officially started my newborn photography business 6.5 years ago. And then about 3.5 years ago, I was just praying and I said, so God, you put this newborn photography on my heart, and my business was really getting established quickly. It was incredible. God's blessing was just on it. And I said, so God, why am I a newborn photographer? And, we were pastoring this church that had been broken and the church couldn't afford to pay my husband. So at first I thought, oh, wow, this is the way that God's going to supply our needs through this business. But somehow in my heart, it felt like there was something more. And so 3.5 years ago, I just prayed and I said, God, is there any way that you can use my newborn photography? And I always tell people, be careful what you ask God, because God spoke to me immediately. And he said, I want you to pray a prayer of blessing over every new baby that comes to you. And I was shocked. I was just like, whoa, God, I'm like this legit business, and businesses don't do that. And wouldn't you know, the first family that came to me that week after God spoke to me was this family from India. Like, you're talking Buddhist or Hindu, I think Buddhist or Hindu, I think. Yeah, Hindu. And the grandmother just came from India. And so and I'm just like, okay, God, that prayer thing, you were just kidding about that, right?
no, it wasn't.
God was not kidding. He said, do what I've asked you to do. And since then, I will say I've lost track. I've prayed over maybe 300 or more babies and their families. And it is the most beautiful time of my session. I can't wait I've prayed for Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, atheist, just all kinds of people. I've prayed over more families, more unchurched families during my time as a photographer than I did when I was a missionary. It's like my new mission field. It's definitely my new ministry. So that, I believe, is where the ministry began. And I always tell people, give God what you have and ask him how he can use it, because he will use you if you offer it to him. So it started there, that my photography was becoming more of a ministry than just a business.
Were they healthy babies, all of them?
I'm sorry, what?
Were they healthy babies?
Yes. At the beginning, I only photographed, just people wanting me to take their babies' pictures. So, 2.5 years ago, I prayed another prayer. It's me and these crazy prayers. And I prayed, God, I pray that you would somehow use my photography to save lives. And in my mind, so this is my thinking, somebody's going to see my work, because my work is at different clinics and stuff like that. So it's, online, different places. And my work had gone viral by then, especially these scenes that I had done with my grandson. Oh, so I'm just going to pull one out. So these are the scenes that I was doing with my grandson. This is actually from the Precious Baby Project. We're going to talk about this in a moment. This is not my grandson. This is a baby from the project, but I was doing these scenes with my grandson. And so my work had already gone viral, just my regular work, and then these scenes. So I became known as this photographer that does these crazy scenes that I call baby imagine art. And then also my theme for that is anything is possible. And it's from the scripture, with man, this is impossible, but with God, all things are possible. I love to incorporate elements of my faith in my business. Also, the name of my business is Precious Baby Photography, and it speaks to the sanctity of life. So from the very beginning, when I started my business, it all started on just around my faith. So here now, 2.5 years ago, I prayed this prayer. God, I pray that you would use my photography to save lives. So I'm thinking in my mind, so maybe somebody's going to see my work. It might be online, or maybe they'll see it in a clinic somewhere. And they'll say, maybe that they were thinking of having an abortion, and they'll say, oh, you know what? Life is beautiful. I'm going to keep this baby. So in my mind, that's how I thought it was going to happen. I just prayed, God, use my photography. Let your anointing be upon it, that people could see the value of life. Well, then about a month later, God spoke to me and showed me that those scenes that I was creating, let me pull out another one. There's a beautiful little Chinese baby. God showed me that these scenes would be perfect for babies with special needs. So this baby, she is terminally ill. And so if you see the forget-me-not flowers, that's symbolic of, when she's gone, that her family would not forget her. Yeah. God showed me that these scenes would be perfect for babies with special needs who can't sit up, they can't walk. And so photographers are at a loss of how to do these pictures. Right. And God showed me, I had the answer right here. Create the scene with fabric on my floor, and then just lay the baby in the scene. And then I go up high and I take a picture from above. And that's how the Precious Baby Project got started. And immediately, the news was all over it from the very beginning. My work went up at the YMCA. This work is all around the world. It went just crazy. It's been on every form of news. It was even on NBC Nightly News. Like, it's crazy. Like, sometimes I would just Google my name, Angela Forker, and like, I'd be like, whoa, like different languages and, different countries doing stories. And I came to realize, oh, God had a different plan. He put that prayer in my heart. I'm sure of it. But his plan was me showing that even babies with special needs are valuable.
Oh, beautiful.
And yes, and beautiful and valuable. So I'm showing the world that they're beautiful. So what I love to do is to incorporate parts of I call them their accessories. So he had a trach, he has a G-tube, and he had a head shaping helmet. And so I was like, well, what if he could be a little astronaut? Yeah. And so his trach is leading to the oxygen, to the spaceship. And this picture has gone around the world. This is probably one of the most famous ones from the project.
Very beautifully done.
Thank you. And so this was God's answer to prayer, to that prayer of praying that my photography would save lives. It was very interesting because I know that I'm pro-life, but with this project, I wasn't supposed to declare it because I didn't want to hinder what God's plans and purposes for these photos. So my photos spoke for themselves. And it was interesting because then it was like Utah's Right to Life. They had me be their speaker. They could see that I was pro-life through my photography, which was very cool. But also, I'm sorry?
That is your mission?
Yes, amen. And so almost immediately after I started this project, maybe a month or two later, then the Advanced Perinatal Care Center in Fort Wayne at Parkview, they contacted me and said, we've seen these pictures you've done. We would love to have these in our clinic. And so this is where, almost immediately, God was answering this prayer. So in this clinic, these women have a diagnosis of their baby, and they're sitting there thinking, should I abort this baby? And they're surrounded by my pictures showing these babies how beautiful they are and that these babies will bring joy to them. And the day after my work went up there, I got an email, and a lady said, I just wanted to thank you for your beautiful artwork. I've been surrounded by these beautiful babies, and I now know that my baby, even though he may have a heart defect, will bring me great joy. So from the very beginning, God answered that prayer, and it has been truly incredible. So what I did from the beginning was I showed people the scenes, and I told them that I would like to start the Precious Baby Project. I put it on my Facebook page.
Yes, ma'am.
And I let parents know. I know that parents with babies with special needs, they have financially, it's very difficult, very challenging for a lot of them. So I knew that this would be something that I would do from my heart, that I would do this for parents at no charge. So parents would contact me, and it has to be a small baby because it's so much work. It takes me up to 10 hours to create these scenes.
Up to what age? How many months?
So it's not so much the age, it's the size, about 27 inches. And so, like, one child, I don't know how big 27 inches is. So one child maybe has a diagnosis that the child is quite small, but they might be older, So it's basically for these scenes, like it's about the size of a queen size bed is a good way, a little bit shorter than a queen size bed on my floor. I create that scene. And so it really helps me to be able to have the child be 27 inches or smaller, and that they're not moving, that they're not like crawling away and rolling and stuff like that. So those are the two requirements. And of course that, that they have a diagnosis that, one lady contacted me and said her son's 2 thumbs were short. And I was just like, well, this project is really more for people that have a very serious diagnosis. Not that, it's not sad, but, that really, I wanted it to be a blessing to families who have a very serious diagnosis, and to be a blessing to this family, especially families that maybe their child won't live long. This photo will be a remembrance of how beautiful their child was and bring a smile to the parent's face. And then also the most important thing is showing the world how beautiful these babies are.
And disabled, how about Down syndrome and all?
Oh yes. I don't know if I have any. I have photographed many babies with Down syndrome. Usually I want, to photograph a baby with a serious condition. That's one of the biggest requirements, that they have a serious medical condition and that they are 27 inches or smaller and that they are not mobile yet. And then this again is how I try to incorporate their accessories. So he had all kinds of tubes. He actually came with a wagon. All of his machines and everything that keep him alive are in a wagon. And we had to put everything down around the scene. And then I found that if I took all those tubes and brought them down and brought them up here, they could be the V in the word love.
Oh.
So I just love to incorporate the different accessories and things that these babies have.
So you went from photography with kids who are healthy to kids who are not healthy.
Yes. Like in this case, these babies, they're so beautiful and they were born prematurely and they have some great medical needs because of that, because they were so premature. And that was their twins. So it was really fun creating a scene for them to be in together. So I still do my normal photography, but then what I did was I would dedicate part of my month that I could do 2 sessions for the Precious Baby Project. Unfortunately, this year, because of COVID, I've had to put this project on hold, which has been very sad. But the project still lives on with the photos and everything.
So from the babies to the mothers.
Yes. And so last year, God spoke to me, and this was kind of shocking to me. Here I was so busy as a pastor's wife. I own my own photography business and I'm doing the Precious Baby Project. And then God spoke to me one morning as I was getting ready for church. Oh, I forgot there was a prayer. And my prayer was, thank you, God, that you've used my photography to save lives. Now I pray, God, that people would come to you because of my photography. So I do pictures of newborn babies and babies with special needs. And my prayer is that people would come to the Lord through my photography. Again, I say, be careful what you ask God, because this one was truly shocking. I was just getting ready for church one Sunday morning, and I felt like God said he wanted me to tell women's post-abortive stories.
Oh.
And I said, no, thank you. It was only a few minutes, but it was a very intense argument that I had with God. I said, I'm not post-abortive. If I do this, everyone will think I am. This is highly controversial. Really don't want something like this on my plate. And then this is the hardest thing to admit. And it's very sad for me to say this out loud. And God has really shown me so much. But I didn't know that I had this thought in my mind.
Yeah.
were they worthy of God's forgiveness? And immediately, I didn't even think I thought it, like it was just in the back of my mind. And immediately God showed me his heart of love and compassion for these post-abortive women and the men. And I couldn't stop weeping. And I said, God, if you love them this much, then yes, I will do this for you. And God showed me how to do it. He said that he wanted me to have post-abortive women tell me their stories, and that they would send me their stories and I would consider it. If they're proud about their abortion, then, I say there's shout your abortion for that. I'm telling women's stories because there are so many women, countless women and men who so deeply regret their abortion. They wish they could turn back time. They wish they could go back. They're left with hopelessness. They're left with despair. And God showed me that these pictures were supposed to be shocking so that they would get people's attention on both sides. These pictures, one, are to raise awareness for the pain and the regret that follows an abortion, that can follow an abortion, the emptiness that can follow addictions and all kinds of things that happen, but also to show the healing that can come in Jesus. So I'm going to show you an example. So I put it out there, the project that I wanted to do, and amazingly, women from all over the world have written to me wanting to be a part of it. I have women who come, they fly from all over. I have a man who's still waiting to come from Sweden, but because of the lockdown, he hasn't been able to come. This is how badly people want to come. But they've flown to me from Florida, from California. Somebody flew me out to California. Somebody next week, I believe, soon, somebody is flying in from Alaska. Like these women will do whatever it takes because they have to share their story. So God showed me that the format was they were supposed to tell me their story. And from it, I get a quote. So in this lady's story, these are the quotes. She said, I was afraid that if God and people truly knew me, they would not love me. I lived a lie that I wanted everyone to see. I was a fake. So God showed me that their quote is under their picture, and the woman whose quote it is, this is her quote, this is the woman. And it's everyday people. And so she has a mask saying, I'm okay. But behind the mask, her face is lost, afraid, murderer, ugly, guilty, sad. It's so heartbreaking. Like when these women send me their stories, I'm bawling.
I know of people who had abortions.
And it's,
but they still don't face up to it.
yeah, some people are proud of it. And that's why I say that shout your abortion is out there for you if you're proud of it. But the women who have found forgiveness, it's so beautiful. So in this one, I'm going to show you and then I'll read it.
Oh.
She has forgiven on her forehead. Now she can get rid of the mask. And she says, my life has taken an amazing turn. I am not the same person I was. I don't have to hide behind a mask. And it's all because she found forgiveness in Jesus.
Well, I think that's beautiful.
It's so beautiful. Like these women, they all have different stories. Every woman has a different story, how they got pregnant. Some were raped. Some of them, they just, found themselves pregnant. But all these women that write to me, they have two common things: that they had an abortion, whether they were forced or whether they were just thinking this is the easy way out. I am trapped. Many were forced. Something I've learned is everyone has a story. And so don't be so quick to judge someone. And I've learned that God is merciful and he can forgive. But the other thing that all these women have in common is they had that abortion. They were devastated. They found forgiveness and healing and freedom. So incredible. And that can only come through Jesus. This lady says, when I had my abortion, I felt numb, like there was no feeling in all of my body, as if I did not exist. I was told to get my cry out and then to never speak of it again, move on, but I couldn't. I attempted suicide twice by the age of 20.
Oh,
And so
that's a powerful picture.
yes,
Yes.
this was one of my most recent participants.
How is she now?
This is how she is now. She talked about being numb. Well, now I am no longer numb. I can feel everything, every truth, every joy, every pain, and I experience it all through his love and healing, Jesus's transformative power and grace. And it's almost like she's in ice and the ice is thawing and she can feel again.
Is that peace?
This is what Jesus can do. And this is so much a part of this project. It's telling people's stories of pain and regret that followed their abortion, but it's also showing the hope that there is in Jesus. One very, very, very important story that often gets overlooked is the man's story.
Oh, yes.
And Rick came to me, and this reached over 1 million people.
Oh my God.
This, I tell you, God used his story. And the thing is, he actually recently passed away. And right before he passed away, God used him and used his story to touch so many people. And he says, I paid for 3 abortions that my girlfriend at the time wanted. It was not my choice. She said it was her choice, not mine. It did not hit me until years later when I realized just what I threw away. It was very painful, but when you are a man, you suffer in silence. And this is actually $500, which is what he paid for the abortion. And so that story is very powerful because a lot of people just think it's my body, my choice. The man has no say, but this is what the man has to deal with
Man
after.
does have a say.
It's so sad. It's so sad. One of the saddest things for me is just the emptiness that these women have thinking, this is like the empty album, just thinking, how old would my child be now? What would my child have looked like? And, no memories, just empty albums. And so that just really shows what a lot of men and women are thinking about the loss. Here's another one that's very, very powerful. I wish someone would have said to me, it will be okay. You don't have to make this choice. There's a blessing to come. And something I've learned is sidewalk counselors.
Yes.
Such a huge difference. So many of these people said, if there had been someone out there, I would have chosen life. And instead they have to carry this regret. But then this is the same lady. Oh, how the Father loves me. Lord, use me to comfort others as you have comforted me. Let my pain not be in vain.
Yes. Yes.
And after such pain and devastation, who would have known that they could have such joy? But that is the joy and the peace and the forgiveness and the healing that comes in Jesus.
What would you like to share with my audience about everything that you are doing?
I would like to share with you that God can use you.
Yes.
There was a time when I was younger, I was all about singing. It was God using Angela. Oh, look how God's using Angela. Look at her voice. And I remember one time I had to stop singing for a month. And I felt like I had nothing to offer God. If I can't sing, what will I ever be able to do for God? And how many of us have looked at that famous singer or that preacher and we've said, if I can't do that, how will God ever use me? But something I have learned through this is God can use anything. If God can use newborn photography to touch millions of people around the world, God can use whatever you have to offer.
This is at the end of our show. Thank you, Angela, for being on my show. This is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page. Thank you for joining in with us, and we enjoyed our interview with Angela. So hope to see you next week, and God bless.
Godspeed, my love, until we meet again. You're always in my heart and every dream. Don't let this time apart give in to all our fears. God will keep us close from up above. So until we meet again, Godspeed, my love. God is with
with us always and for the rest of all our lives.